verses 6 through 8. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. I'm going to read those aloud. And I'm actually going to start with verse 5. I'm going to read from aloud from the New King James Version. It says, "Bondservants, be obedient to those who are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in sincerity of heart, as to Christ, not with eye service as man pleasers, but as bondservants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with good will doing service as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that whatever good anyone does, he will receive the same from the Lord, whether he is a slave or free." Amen. And just for the purpose of a title for today's message is "The Heart Matters." The heart matters. And the gist of what's being said here, the Apostle Paul is talking, and in my Bible, this is titled "Service on the Job." These verses, service on the job. But Paul is addressing bondservants, those who have a job, those who are in submission to anyone under authority, under anyone's authority. How we go about doing things. Bondservants, verse 5, "Bondservants, be obedient to those who are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in sincerity of heart." The King James Version actually says, "Servants, be obedient to them that are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in singleness of your heart, as unto Christ." In singleness of heart. Singleness is sincerity. Sincerity and singleness of heart is you don't have an ulterior motive. Serve, do the thing that you've committed and said that you're going to do, that you've been asked or tasked to do. Serve. And we as believers, as servants of the Lord, serve with sincerity of heart, with singleness of heart. To have a double-minded or not singularly focused, an insincere heart would be to do it for your own reasons. Would be to do it for a selfish reason. Would be to make somebody believe that you're doing it to help them, but you're really looking to advance yourself in some way. And he's not talking about committing sin. He's not talking about committing a sin. He's not talking about deceiving somebody, setting a scam of any kind against somebody. He's talking about serving. Rendering service. Bondservants, be obedient to those who are your masters according to the flesh. It says, with fear and trembling, in sincerity of heart, as to Christ, whatever we find ourselves doing, we serve and we do as though we're doing it unto Christ himself. We think of the account where Mary broke in on Jesus as he was at supper with the Pharisees. And she broke open the alabaster box and anointed his head, wept at his feet, dried it with her hair. That was directly to Christ. She wanted to serve Christ. She wanted to be, she just wanted to let him know how much She loved him. How grateful she was to him for everything that he had done for her. For who God, for whomever Christ has done much. That's where the greatest appreciation, that's where the greatest love comes from. If he hasn't done a lot for us, if we don't realize that he's done a lot for us, then we're not going to have that reverential, that service unto him. But whatever we do, whatever we find ourselves doing, we have to do it as though we're serving Christ himself. Even though we may be asked to do this for a man. We may be asked to do this by a man. Our service is ultimately to God. We as children, we as his children, represent him. We represent God. Verse 6 says, not with eye service as man pleasers, but as bondservants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, not with eye service as men pleasers. Again, not doing the right thing because the boss is looking, or when I was in the Air Force, we would have these inspections, and I shared this before. We would have inspections, and we would get everything right and clean the shops and make the books look good so that these inspectors, when these inspectors came through, they would go through all our processes and everything. They would say, you know what? You've done well. You guys do it. You're doing it great. We'll give you your assessment. You either get an excellent, a marginal, or an outstanding or something like that. They give you your assessment, and then they move on. But as soon as those inspectors were done, we go right back to doing it the way we were doing it before. That's eye service. That's eye service. If we were really wanting to do it the way the inspectors say we ought to do it, then we should be doing it all year long. That's how we ought to have been doing it the whole time. But here's the thing. Once the inspectors were gone, and then we keep doing it the way it's supposed to be done, the way when the inspectors were coming, that's too slow. That takes too long. We need it done quicker. That's taking too long. We can't get as many aircraft through the system if we start doing it that way. But when the inspectors come, we got to go back to doing it this way so that we can look good in front of the inspectors. That's how we have to remember God is our ultimate inspector. He's our ultimate. He's the one that's going to stand and judge why we've done everything that we've done. For a believer, all our righteous acts, all our good acts, all the acts that we have done are going to go through a purifying fire. They're going to go through a purifying fire. And as we've committed these acts, we've done them, and they might look like shiny as gold. They might look good. They might look just impressive, so impressive. But when it goes through God's purifying fire, when it comes out on the other side, it's either going to be ashes or gold. It's going to be ashes or gold. And what determines whether it comes out as ashes or gold is our heart. The reason why we did what we did. If we're doing it for our own selfish reason, that's going to come out as ashes. But if we do it as unto the Lord, that comes out as gold. That is going to come out as gold. So we do it as not with eye service, not as men pleasers. Not so that men will look at us and say, oh wow, you just did this. You are a super person. I'm so glad I have you on my team. You are just the greatest. You make my team so much better. I'm glad that we have you around. If that's why we're doing it, then we're paid in full. If that's why we're doing it. But if we're doing it because we love the Lord, if we're doing it because we want to give God honor and glory in everything we do, man's still going to recognize that. And man is still going to say, you know what? Good job. I'm glad I have you on my team. Man's still going to say those kind of things. But we give honor to God. We give glory to God. Because that's why we do it. So that he will receive the honor. So that he will receive the glory from it all. We didn't do it so that a man would look at us and look at the thing that we did and say, you know what? Well done, good job, great. Because that man doesn't have the heaven or the hell to direct us to in the end. But our Father does. He will look at us and say, well done, my good faithful servant. Amen. But here's the last part of verse 6. Doing the will of God from the heart. Now that's one of the biggest things, one of the biggest questions asked throughout Christendom, if you will, by believers. What is the will of God for my life? What is the will of God for my life? The will of God is that we live by his word, obey his word, serve him with gladness of heart. That is the will of God. The will of God is that we obey his word. The will of God is that we love one another. The will of God is that we go forward and let our light so shine. The will of God is that we go out into the land and make disciples of all nations. That is the will of God. Doing the will of God from the heart. Again, from the heart. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. Faith. We can't do the acts of God thinking we're checking off a checklist that's going to make God happy. And then again on that judgment day, on that we put all of our acts through that purifying fire. If we've done it just so that because we think that, you know, we're building up points with God. If we've done it for that reason, that's going to come out as ashes. Doing the will of God from the heart because we love him, because we want to please him, because we know it's right to obey the word of God, that comes out as gold. We want to be gold producers. Doing the will of God from the heart. If we know that it's something that God has a desire for us to do, doing the will of God from the heart, then we're not slouching or slumping or, well, I know this is what God wants me to do, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it. I hope there, I did it, God. There you go. It's the same as ask my boys to clean their rooms. You gotta clean your room or you can't go outside. Okay, our room is clean. Our room is clean. Is it mom and dad clean or is it you guys clean? Or let me go check. Let me go make sure. That's the answer we get. Is it you guys clean? So that's okay. Your room is clean now and it's finally clean and it's mom and dad clean, but you cleaned your room so you can go outside. You don't want to have a clean room. Because if you wanted to have a clean room, it'd be clean all the time. That's how some people try to do God. The inspector's coming. Lord, I need this. Lord, I need this in my life. Look, I cleaned up my room. Look at my room. My room is clean. Ha ha! Check it out. Woo! Spotless, like it was brand new, Lord. Look at that. Now but I need this from you. That's how we try to treat God. That's how we try to do some things before the Lord. Doing the will of God from the heart is doing it because we know it's the right thing to do. Because it's the right thing to do. Keeping our room clean. Because it's good to have a clean room. That's the right thing to do. That's the right way to have a clean room. Doing the will of God from the heart. Verse 7. With goodwill doing service as to the Lord and not to men. With goodwill doing service. Again. Doing service. With goodwill doing service as to the Lord and not to men. Serving, keeping our eyes focused on God in such a way that we're seeing men, we're seeing those around us through God's eyes. if we're able to look and see those around us through God's eyes, then whatever it is we do, we're doing it as unto the Lord and not to men. If we do it as unto the Lord and not to men, thinking that, knowing that, there's things that I really, really don't like having to do at work. The reports that we do, I really don't like having to do those. A lot of typing, it's a lot of tedium, having to put in numbers, this, that, and the other, making sure that everything lines up just right, that however we put it in the aircraft forms has to go in the computer the exact same way, making sure that the signatures on there are in this, they're all in the right spot and everything. And sometimes some of the things that we put in, the computer won't catch it as an error, but I can just put it in any old way and it doesn't matter. Okay? So, but it'll go in and somebody might catch it, somebody might not catch it. But if I'm doing it as I'm doing it unto the Lord, then I'm going to make sure that all my information is straight. Make sure that all the signatures are where they need to be. Make sure that all the symbols are right. Making sure that this code actually goes with this job. Because I'm doing it as unto the Lord and not as unto men. Because men sometimes won't check behind me. So I can get away with it. I'll get away with it before men. But God knows how I've done it. God knows how, in what manner, I've done it before him. So with goodwill, doing service as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that whatever good anyone does, he will receive the same from the Lord, whether he is slave or free. Knowing that whatever good, knowing that regardless of if you're a slave and you're obligated to work for this person, how you do your job, how you carry out the commands that this person gives you, how the attitude with which you go about doing what it is that you've been tasked to do. These are the things that God looks at in our heart. These are the things that God is watching. Whether you're a slave, bondservant, or free, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter before the Lord. It does not matter. Because he holds both to the same standard. He doesn't care if we're a bondservant, because a slave has to do what the master says. That bondservant has to do what the master says. But this person over here, who's a free person, still has to do the same things. Still has commands. Still has things that they have to execute. Still have things that they have to do. But both will be measured by how they do it. Are you putting forth your best foot? Are you putting forth your best effort for whomever? For whomever. You ever walked into a fast food restaurant and just before the time when a regional manager is coming in, and you'll see the employees there, their uniforms a little extra tight. They've gone through and mopped the place, a couple extra times to make sure the bathroom is extra clean, because the regional manager is coming. The regional manager comes once a quarter maybe. He comes once and he's there for maybe an hour or two, then he's out. But you look on their sign, over 1 billion customers served. Those 1 billion customers have been in there more than once. Those 1 billion customers. Those 1 billion customers important enough for you to, the customers are coming. Let's hit the bathroom one extra time. Let's make sure our uniforms are extra straight. Let's make sure this, let's make sure that. Because the customers are coming. No, the customers are coming. All right, make sure the bathroom. Hit the bathroom. Do this, do that. Do your duties, do your duties, do your duties. But the regional manager is coming. We want to make extra sure. We want to make extra sure. Now, if you think about that as a customer, as a paying customer, as the one who's pouring your money into this company and keeping it viable, really, how does that look? Wow. That the regional manager, he signs the checks, He gives them their evaluation and all of that. customers are the ones. If those customers stop coming, the regional manager's going to come more often. Because now your business is going down. So, what is their motive? What is their motive? They're doing it for themselves. They're doing it to make the franchise look better before the regional manager. It's a whole different dynamic. It's a whole different dynamic. Then, because you've been in one place where it's just clean all the time. The service is good. All the employees there, they have a good attitude and everything. They don't have to do anything really extra when the regional manager is coming. But this one over here, you'll catch them on a bad day sometime. You'll catch them, when the regional manager is not coming and the bathroom's not quite as clean. There's no straws over there by the drink. No straws, really? There's a lot of large cups over here, but there's small lids. Come on. What kind of service is that? But when the regional manager is coming, you can bet if there's 85 cups over here, there's 90 straws just in case. If there's all extra large cups over here, there's extra large lids. It should be like that all the time. It should be like that all the time. They should behave every day as if the regional manager was coming. Don't let down when he's not coming. We should do the same thing, knowing that God is always watching us. We should do the same thing. We should have ourselves ready. And it's more urgent for us as believers because we know that Christ can come any minute. We know that there's no time or date. The date and time is appointed, but only God knows what it is. And that's why he didn't tell us what date it was. Because we would let things go until like that week before. Then we start getting stuff straight as believers. We go around, trying to ask anybody that we've offended, can you forgive me? Back there in like 91, I said something to you and I shouldn't have, but I need you to forgive me now. Jesus is coming. I gotta get it. I gotta be ready. I gotta get my house clean. I gotta clean my room. I gotta make sure everything is straight. But everything we do at all times ought to be done knowing that Jesus is coming back at any time. Knowing it at any time. 2 times in these set of verses that he talks about from the heart. Verse 5 and verse 6. Bondservants, be obedient to those who are your masters according to the flesh, with fear and trembling, in sincerity of heart, as to Christ. Verse 6, not with eye service as man pleasers, but as bondservants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart. The heart matters. We're doing it from the heart. We're not doing it from the head. We're doing it from the heart. Because the heart matters. The heart matters. There are some people who think that we can have our heart so right with God that our heart is just, we can have our heart so right with God that we can go out and do anything and present that to Him, and God's going to receive it. And it's going to be acceptable before God. But that's not true. That's not true. If our heart is right, then the heart is the middle, the center of everything that we do. If our heart is right, then everything that comes from our heart, out of our mouth, is the overflow of what's in the heart. So if we can't say our heart is right, but just whatever we want to allow to come out of our mouth is okay, and God has to accept that? No, that's not true. If our heart is right, then everything starts. It pours out of the heart. If our heart is right, then everything else that we're going to be doing is right before the Lord. It's going to be right before the Lord. I read an account some years ago, many years ago. This guy, he had a hunting dog, and he raised it from a puppy. He trained it and everything, and he had a real close relationship with this dog. And the dog loved the master's attention. He loved the rewards that the master would give when he did obedient things. When he did things right. Obviously, whenever he did things wrong, the master would discipline him in however the master would do it. But when the dog was right, he got good reward. Well, one day the dog got so excited and wanted to return, just demonstrate his love. He went out, and because he was a hunting dog, and he knew that whenever he hunted, the master would shoot something, he would go retrieve it and bring it back to the master out there in the field, and it was good. Well, one day the dog's just out there, just all, him and the master, they've been playing and everything. So the dog, he runs out in the field, kills a bird, just mangles it, brings it back to the master in the master's house, puts this dead bird at the master's feet, and he's just wagging his tail and all happy, and look what I did for you, master. I brought you this dead bird like I always do, like when we're out there, but I'm doing it now, and I bring it this dead bird at your feet. I don't want to be gross, okay, but he tore the bird up pretty bad. And he just puts it at the master's feet, and the master's like, you know what? He says, as he's writing the article, he's like, I can see on my dog's face that, there's a sincerity there. There's a joy of wanting to please me. But even though his heart was right, that gift was not good. That gift that the dog, brought in was not good. His heart was right. His heart just wanted to please the master. His heart, just said, you know what, I want to give, but we can't just bring anything before the Lord. Our heart is so right that we just want to please God, that, oh Lord, I love you so much. I'm going to go over here and get this that I feel like you would want, God, and I'm going to put it at your feet. No, we can't do that. We can't just take anything because we think our heart is so right that we can bring it before the Lord. He says he tells us what we can bring before him. He tells us, he lets us know the manner in which we can praise him. He lets us know the manner in which we can worship him in spirit and in truth. If our heart is right, you can't, if your heart's not right with God, then you can't worship him in spirit and in truth and think that you are. And think that God is sitting back saying, oh, wow, look at that. That person's heart is so right. Even though they're not trying to worship me in spirit and in truth, but I'm going to go ahead and accept that anyway. No, that's not God. No, that's not God. He knows our heart. He can see our heart. And that works two ways. Because we can sit and think that our heart is so right before God and present what we think is okay before the Lord. But he's not. Our heart has got to be right before the Lord. We have to know in our relationship with God what it is that he wants us to do. And do that. Be obedient to the masters, to those who are the master or your masters according to the flesh. Be obedient. Obedience is better than sacrifice. God desires our obedience. Our obedience, our loving, submitted obedience, not our grudging compliance. But it has to be to his word. Our obedience to his word. Not in a legalistic sense. Not in, okay, the word says, do not forsake the gathering, so that means I can't miss church on Sundays. No, that's not what God is looking for. Do not forsake the gathering. Forsake means to relinquish, to give up altogether. That's forsake. That's giving up. That's leaving destitute. Like we said a couple weeks ago, forsake means to leave destitute. You leave out saying, you know what, I'm never going to church again because this, that, and the other. You leave out, that's forsaking. That is forsaking. But you coming to church every week to think you're going to get a perfect attendance certificate at the end of the year, that's not why God said do it either. The obedience that God is talking about is loving compliance. Loving compliance. Loving. Doing it because you know that it pleases God. We went to the award ceremony at Tartan the other day. And a lot of the teachers, were giving out the perfect attendance, to the students and everything. And it was, not many students in each class would get it. Maybe, I think 3 at the most in one class, maybe. But it was a perfect attendance thing. And as happy as the teacher was, for that perfect attendance, how many of those kids came to school sick and made other kids sick? Ruined their perfect attendance because they brought this up. But it's just saying that there's times, and that God, He knows our heart. He knows our heart. He knows why we're doing what we're doing. He knows why we're doing what we're doing. He desires that we do it of a sincere heart. Do what we're doing out of a sincere heart. It says of singleness of heart. Do what we're doing out of a sincere heart. Serve the Lord with a sincere heart. Serve men with a sincere heart. Do the will of God from the heart. Do the word, obey the word, live the word from your heart, because you know that it's the right thing to do as a believer. Not because we know that at the end of the year, the pastor's going to give me a perfect attendance because I didn't miss any church this calendar year. I was at every Bible study. I was at every prayer meeting. I was at every Sunday service. So yes, I had me an award to put on my wall. No, that's not what God is looking for. God is looking for you to be there because that's where you want to be. God is looking for us to be there. He's looking for us to do whatever it is we do because we know that it pleases Him, because we know that it's the right thing to do, because we know that it's what the Word says to do. The heart matters. The heart matters. If we do it for any other reason, then that makes us a man pleaser. If we do it for any other reason, then we're just performing eye service. If we do it for any other reason, then we're not doing. Then our heart is not right before the Lord. And that's all He desires. That's what He desires. He desires us to do the word. He desires us to do it because we want to. Because we want to obey His command. Because we want to serve Him. Because we want to please Him. Whatever we do, no matter who we serve, we're ultimately serving God. So when that teacher, that instructor, that boss, that supervisor, shop lead, whatever we find ourselves, whomever we find ourselves in authority to, we submit to that authority. Because ultimately, we're submitting to the Lord. Ultimately, we're submitting to the Lord. We're doing whatever that person says as unto the Lord. As unto the Lord. We can't be rebellious to an authority figure. We can't be rebellious to somebody that has authority over us and call ourselves submitted to God. This is right authority. This person is asking us to do something wrong, is asking us to go against our character, to do something that we know God would have us to do. We can't. We stay submitted, but we don't come and develop a rebellious attitude against that person. We have to do what we do before the Lord, as unto the Lord. Again, bondservants, be obedient to those who are your masters, according to the flesh, with fear and trembling and sincerity of heart as to Christ. Not with eye service as man pleasers, but as bondservants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with goodwill doing service as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that whatever good anyone does, he will receive the same from the Lord, whether he is bond or free. Whatever good that we do in the name of the Lord, in obedient service to him, he's going to return it to us. He's going to return it to us. He will receive the same from the Lord. Whenever we're doing, whatever good we do, whatever good we help, serve, and remember what the word says, be careful, because we might entertain angels, unawares. That's where, if we're doing everything as unto the Lord, then we'll serve, then we'll help that person. And we'll edify that person. We'll build that person up. We'll do whatever. We'll try to help that person in our best way possible. We'll try to help them out. And whatever good we do unto them, God's going to return unto us. Whatever good we do, God's going to return unto us. We were stationed in North Carolina. The men, we went to a manpower conference. I think this particular one was in Birmingham, Alabama. We had one of the vans from the chapel, and we were coming back. We were at a little convenience store by the side of the road, and there was an elderly gentleman there who had a blowout, and he was struggling changing the tire. So here we are, there's about 15, 20 of us. We get out, we help him jack up the car. Take the tire, put the spare on, put everything back. He didn't have to do anything, because he was struggling. And, we helped the guy. He tried to pay us, just, want to help you, be able to help you and all of that. He and his wife were so thankful, so grateful. They drove away. And we didn't expect anything back from him. We didn't expect him to, that's why we refused payment. He couldn't pay all of us anyway, so a bunch of it. They trying to, give the group of us some money. So we helped that man and went on his way. Then later on that year, I want to say, was when we had trouble with the van, the tire on the van. And the gentleman came out of nowhere and helped you change that flat, because either I couldn't make it there, I went to the wrong place or something like that. But a gentleman comes up, well, wife, we had a tire that kept going flat on the van. I think that's what it was. Because later on, Joe Whalen took me to the weekend. Anyway, when there was a need, God sent somebody in to help. He returned that good that was done. We helped the gentleman, and with sincerity of heart. Not so that he would think, oh, these guys are real cool, man. These guys are, they're all Air Force, they're retired. These guys are cool. I appreciate them so much. Thank them. They're so good. But no, it was just a desire to help somebody that had a need. So then God returned that. And when my wife was in a position where she had a need, there was and God sent somebody in to help. So the good that was paid out, God paid back. He does that. He does that in that way. And that's what he's talking about. For he will receive the same from the Lord, whether he is bond or free. So that bond servant, if he's doing his job the right way, with the right heart, he's going to receive it back. That free person, if they're doing their job the right way, then you're going to receive that back. The heart matters. The heart matters. We have to have the sincerity of heart in all that we do. So whatever good we do, God. Amen. Amen. Let's give God some praise. Just because he's worthy.